Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. I am attorney Mula Alamayo, and I am here today to do a brief webinar regarding COVID-19 and its effects on U.S. immigration. My office is located in Los Angeles, California. I've been practicing immigration law for the last 27 years. If any of you have a question today, I'll be more than happy to try and answer as much as I can at the end of this short webinar. Also, my webinar will be posted on my YouTube channel, and when I do post it, I will put a note also on my Facebook page. So today's webinar, I am hoping to be able to answer questions or be able to at least to give information to people who are wondering about what is happening during COVID-19 when USCIS offices or United States Citizenship and Immigration Services offices have been closed, and when the immigration courts have been closed, as well as what does the 90-day ban of immigrants, the proclamation that's been passed, what does that mean and how does it affect us? What does embassy closures mean? I've had so many of these questions being asked, and I felt it would be very beneficial to the community if I try to at least share a little bit of what I know on those issues. I also would like to say that at this time, it is very important for everybody to be up to date on what is going on with the immigration laws, and then making sure that you keep your status current. I mean, make sure that your status is being make sure that you're still in status, and also make sure that all of your paperwork is being processed properly. However, I may have additional issues and webinars in the future, but today's webinar is strictly on 4 issues that I will try to cover. It will be regarding United States Citizenship and Immigration Services closures, closure of the immigration courts, the President's Proclamation suspending entry of immigrants for 60 days, and the closure of the embassies worldwide, United States embassies. So let's begin with starting or addressing what it means when we say that USCIS is closed due to COVID-19. As of March 18, 2020, United States Citizenship and Immigration Services closed its doors in terms of the physical or in-person appearances that could be made, or in-person interviews that could be conducted, fingerprint appointments, or any type of in-person service that it provides to the community. USCIS has indicated that this closure, as of now, is expected to last up to June 4th. And a lot of this information that I give you today will be found on uscis.gov. If you go into their website, you'll be able to know when it will be open, or any guidance that they're giving on how to keep your status current as well, and also how to make sure that you do not miss any deadlines and what it all means. And I would also like to make sure that you all understand that the information that I'm giving today is in no way meant to be an attorney, a full attorney advice being given, but I'm only providing this as an informational webinar, and that any questions that you have to really be able to get a clear answer on your own specific individual cases, you should contact an attorney or contact my office as well, to be able to have a one-on-one consultation to really analyze your case and your situation better, and be able to give you the correct legal advice at that time. So what has happened right now until at least June 4th, our understanding is that it would last up to June 4th, is that any interviews that had been scheduled with United States Citizenship and Immigration Services are canceled. So any appointments that you had scheduled between March 18th and June 4th, if you had received a notice, those interviews have been canceled. Any fingerprint appointments have been canceled. Any asylum interviews have also been canceled. And so what would happen is that once USCIS has reopened its doors, and hopefully that will be on June 4th, it's our understanding that new notices for those appointments will be sent out by USCIS, and there's nothing more that you need to do, but look out for those notices. However, of course, I always advise that if you feel your notices are not coming to you on time, to even maybe contact USCIS and see if you can find any status on that as well is recommended. And during the closure of USCIS, however, even though it has closed its doors to any physical or in-person appearances or services, USCIS is still open and accepting applications that are being mailed in. So if you have a petition that you would like to file for a family member, or if you have to file your application for your work permit renewal, asylum applications, or any type of mail-in applications are still being accepted by USCIS, and USCIS officers are also working even if they're not within the buildings, but working remotely as well, and processing these applications is what we have been advised. So you can still mail in your applications. Also, a lot of the applications, or not a lot, some of the applications you can also do online. So you can go online and submit them. And of course, a lot of attorney offices at this time, including myself, even though I'm not physically in my office and having an in-person appointment with my clients, my office is open, and a lot of attorney offices are still open where we're working remotely and are able to meet with our clients via phone, via Zoom, via any type of conference call, and we would be able to assist you in submitting these applications. Also, if you have received a request for evidence or any type of a notice of intent to deny or notice of intent to revoke, and you have been given a deadline, it is important that you respond to those requests for evidence or requests or intent to deny, or any deadlines that you have been given. Granted, USCIS is saying that any deadlines that have been given for the submission of these documents, and if the notice date is between March 1st and July 1st, that you will have an additional time or an additional 60 days. But this is a very tricky extension that you should consult with an attorney and make sure that you are not missing that deadline and not be a little bit distracted by the extension, but to make sure that you respond to any requests for evidence or any submissions that your USCIS has requested within the deadline or very soon after the deadline. If you have missed any deadlines, it is also important at this point to give an explanation and submit your evidence that you needed to submit to USCIS at the soonest possible time. Also, in regards to people that are here on maybe a visitor's visa or some type of a visa that has an expiration date, it is very important that you file an extension of a request for an extension of your stay in the US as soon as possible, and preferably, of course, before the expiration date of your visa. And explain the reason why you need the extension, and if it's something related to COVID-19 or any effects that it has had in your life or in your family's life or in any of your situations and making it difficult for you to travel, you should make sure that you explain that in your requests and submit your request for an extension as soon as possible. USCIS also accepts online filings of these requests for extensions, so you could do that, and you could always, of course, seek the assistance of an attorney in helping you submit those requests. Also regarding any visa waiver travelers or any visa waiver people from countries that do have a visa waiver and are in the United States, as all visa waiver visa holders understand that these visas are not allowed to be extended in the United States. However, due to this COVID-19, there has been a special provision where they would also allow you to extend for an additional 30 days, but you would have to put this request in directly to USCIS as soon as you know that you're unable to leave within that time, or if it's somehow you are unable to leave within that time and your stay expiration date passed as to when you are allowed to be in the U.S., then you should immediately contact USCIS and see if you would be able to get an extension or be considered as a situation where they will say that your departure from the United States is satisfactory. This information as to where to reach them could be found on their website at www.uscis.gov. It has a contact center and number, and it provides you as to how to get a hold of USCIS officers to be able to make such requests. Also, in addition to any requests for evidence, if you have a denial of your case and you need to submit a motion to reopen or a motion to reconsider or file an appeal on that motion, on that denial, it is imperative that you do it as soon as possible also, and not to wait until USCIS has physically opened their doors, but to make sure that you mail in those applications or petitions or motions. Okay, another situation that we will, or another issue that we will cover today would be on what it means about immigration court closures. Immigration courts at the current time are closed for hearings on non-detained cases only. Any hearings that have been scheduled for detained cases are still ongoing and they have not been canceled. However, any non-detained cases that have been scheduled through May 29th have been postponed as of now. That is the information we have so far. So anybody that has an immigration court appointment up to May 29 will receive a rescheduled notice in the mail. But it is very important that you follow up with the immigration courts and make sure that you haven't maybe perhaps missed a rescheduled notice that is being mailed out. And you can always also check your status by check the dates of your court hearings by dialing a number that is also on your previously issued court appointment notice, but the number is 1-800-898-7180. So you can call that number and make sure, or call directly to the clerk's office of the respective courts that your case is in to make sure that you have not missed any upcoming hearing dates that have been rescheduled. However, in terms of the detained cases, as I said, those are still ongoing. So if you have any family members or if you have any friends that are detained at this time, it is very important that you try to assist them in at least finding legal assistance or attorneys that would be able to take their cases so that their case is prepared well and that they are represented. At this time, we see that the immigration laws are getting harsher. It's becoming much more difficult in presenting cases in courts. So the assistance of an attorney would be very imperative in these type of situations. So I urge you all to try and make sure that your friends or family or loved ones are being represented if they are detained and have hearing dates coming up. Also, more importantly, at this time, even though the immigration courts are not conducting their hearings and not having the in-person hearings, if there was any deadline that you were given within which to submit a document or evidence to the courts, you should meet those deadlines, and you should make sure that you do submit them. The courts actually, in an unprecedented way, due to this COVID-19 closure right now, have even opened up their emails to allow email filings. The court clerks' offices are also open for in-person filings. So if you have any documents that you need to submit to the court in regards to your case, you would be able to submit them either via mail, email, or in-person walk-in to the clerk's offices. So you need to be vigilant on that and make sure that you submit the documents within the deadlines that the judges have given you. In the event, just in case you have missed any filing deadlines also, please don't give up in not trying to submit those documents and thinking I can't submit them anymore. Submit them to the court as soon as you can and at your earliest possible opportunity by asking the courts to allow you to accept those late filings and giving your explanation as to why you were late. So it's very important that you remain vigilant in the processing of your or in your cases that are pending with the immigration courts. Then I would like to also cover a little bit about the embassy closures worldwide right now, or the U.S. embassies being closed. Interviews have been canceled, and routine visa applications have also been suspended. However, some applications are still being processed in those embassies in terms of if you have an immigrant visa, perhaps for a family member, they should continue being processed. However, the schedule, I shouldn't say they should be processed. They would be rescheduled is what I should say. If you have any appointments for family members or yourself that have been scheduled with the U.S. embassies nationwide, and that appointment has been canceled, you should receive a reschedule notice once the embassies are open for in-person interviews. And again, you should follow up and make sure that you don't miss any other notices as well. And stay vigilant as much as you can by contacting the consulates or contacting an attorney to assist you once the embassies are opened. However, also with any type of embassy or consulate processing, all applications go through the National Visa Center, where you would need to provide the documents that need to be transmitted to the embassies for them to have or conduct their interviews for an application. So the National Visa Center at this time is still working and processing the documents that you file, and perhaps keeping them in queue ready for them to be sent out to the consulates, or I'm not really sure how they're working with the consulates, but at least they're still accepting your applications or documents that need to be submitted to the National Visa Center to get it ready for an interview when the embassies or the consulates are opened. So you should still continue the process that you need to do with the National Visa Center, and not think that the National Visa Center is closed at this time. The next issue that I would like to cover briefly is also regarding the proclamation suspending entry of immigrants. And this proclamation says that it's to prevent risk to the U.S. labor market during the economic recovery following the COVID-19. That's at least the title, and what it is said is the purpose of this proclamation. In any event, the president has signed this proclamation on April 22nd, and it took effect as of 11:59 p.m. On April 23rd, 2020. So what this means is anybody that did not have an immigrant visa in hand by 11:59 April 23rd would not be able to have an immigrant visa issued to them, and there won't be any immigrant visas that will be issued for the next 60 days. However, anybody that has the visa in hand by midnight or by 11:59 of April 23rd can still travel into the United States. Those already issued visas are valid. So the immigrant visas will not be canceled that have already been issued, and the proclamation is not retroactive. However, there are some exceptions also to this ban, there are certain categories or certain applications or visas that are exempted from this, which I will touch on. However, I just want to briefly say that, as I stated earlier, this lasts for the next for 60 days from April 23rd, and it is set to be reviewed by the Department of Labor and Department of Homeland Security within 30 days of its passing, within 30 days of April 23rd, and also within 50 days of April 23rd, the Department of Labor and Department of Homeland Security would recommend if it should be extended further or not past the 60 days. So we will know at that time, when the review is done, on whether the 60-day extension is going to occur or not. So now going into the exceptions to this, the proclamation does not apply to lawful permanent residents. It does not. It also carves out an exception to spouses and children of American citizens. And when we say children, it's children under 21 of US citizens. So the people that I'm mentioning now and listing are people that the proclamation does not apply to, which means that they would still be able to be processed and come into the US as soon as the embassies open, but the 60-day ban does not apply to them. So we have the exception for spouses and children under 21 of US citizens. We have exceptions to healthcare professionals who are coming into the United States to perform essential work in combating COVID-19. It gives an exception as well to EB-5 investors, who are the investors that are investing hundreds of thousands of dollars, close to $1 million US dollars. Those are still allowed to process within, even during this ban. Individuals who would further important US law enforcement are exempt from this proclamation ban. Spouses and children of US armed forces can come in. Individuals and spouses of their children eligible for special immigrant visas as Afghan or Iraqi translator, interpreter, or US government employee can come in. Non-immigrant visa holders are not banned by this proclamation. Asylum status and refugee status applicants can also come in. And it does not pertain to, one thing that's very, very important is actually to know that this 60-day ban or proclamation does not pertain to any applications that are being processed within the United States. So if you have an adjustment of status application that is filed within the United States while you're here in the United States, this ban does not affect you. This proclamation only affects immigrant visas that are being processed outside of the country, so the consulate processing. Other than that, again, I would like to say that what I'm providing today is really intended as being informational only, and that it is very important that you have a one-on-one consultation with an attorney to be able to have the proper and accurate legal advice as to your particular situation. So these are really the 4 issues that I wanted to cover today. In the future, we will, if you have any additional questions for me, or if you'd like for me to cover any particular issues, if you would send me a messenger, a private message, or even an email asking me about the question or the issues you'd like for me to cover, I'll be happy to do it. And I also plan in the future to be able to do this webinar with other attorneys that I respect highly, and we would be able to have different perspectives and be able to give you also information on attorneys that are in different areas. For example, if you need an in-person consultation in the future or in-person representation, and it would be much more feasible for you to do it within your area, I'm going to be inviting some attorneys to be able to do this webinar with me so that you have access to their information as well. If you need to reach me, my email is mululaw2@aol.com. My office number is 661-273-7355. So you can either email me, call me. My office, as I said, even though I'm not physically in the office, I'm available to answer your calls as much as I can on Monday to Friday between 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Again, my number is 661-273-7355. And I will also be posting this publishing this webinar on my YouTube channel as well, and that is Mulu Alamayu, attorney. If you go to that channel, you should be able to see it, and it would also be on my Facebook page. I'm not sure if we have any questions on here. And if they do pop up, then I will try and answer them as much as I can. The one question asks, where do I practice? And as I stated earlier, my main office is actually in Los Angeles, California. However, I provide my legal services or my representation all over the United States. And my office address is 3255 Wilshire Boulevard, Suite 1688 in Los Angeles, California. All of my contact information you would be able to find on my Facebook page, as well as on my website at mululaw.com. I've had some questions regarding fingerprint appointments that people have missed and they've been worried. I think I've covered it earlier, but just to be able to answer that question, I want to state that any fingerprint appointments or any type of biometric or citizenship appointment, interview appointments that you've had scheduled but were canceled due to the COVID-19 closure of offices will be rescheduled. So all you need to do is wait for the reschedule notices to come in the mail. I also have a question that said, if my mom traveled outside of the United States with a green card, does she need to come back within the next 6 months? The next 6 months, this is another question that's very important for you to really consult with an attorney and be able to get the clear answer in what it is that you're more interested in being sure that you maintain the count of the days or eligibility for, because the 6-month period really pertains mainly for eligibility time that is counted towards your eligibility for applying for naturalization or citizenship. However, for green card, not to risk that you could be considered as having abandoned it, and not to risk of having to be referred to immigration court, you would need to make sure that you come in less than 1 year of your travel. But these are very specific and legal issues that you should really get a clear understanding by calling an attorney or consulting with an attorney, or call me in my office, and I would be able to look at the exact nature of the travel, the time, and what we're trying to make sure that we maintain eligibility for. Other than that, if you have any other questions, you can, as I said, you can always reach me via email or send me a question on my Facebook page. And in the future, if you found this webinar helpful, please make sure that you do like and follow my pages, and also subscribe to my YouTube page, so that when I do have these webinars, that you will be able to get the additional information. Thank you so much, and I hope everybody has a wonderful day, and happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there tomorrow. Enjoy your time. I want to send my well wishes, and also to all the essential workers out there that have been out there fighting COVID-19, the medical professionals, all the professionals that have been making sure that we stay safe as a community and as a nation and the world as well. I thank you for all your service, and all the other essential workers as well that are at times not mentioned, who are working day and night in those establishments that are open in all capacities and in all walks of life. I appreciate you, and I say my thank yous as well. And be safe, everyone. Happy Saturday, and happy Mother's Day again.